Are you ready to finally live your best life, but what you're doing now just isn't quite cutting it? Well, then this episode's for you. Hi, I'm Tracy with Multiform PTSD, and in today's episode, I have life coaches, power couple, Scott and Nancy Kessling, and they are here to teach us how to transform your life after tragedy. Here, let's listen in. And welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, thank you for having us. We're so excited.
Hey, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and what you're about, and then we'll just dig right in.
Okay, so we are Scott and Nancy Kiesling. We are a life coaching couple that help support women to really get to the root cause of their failed relationships and begin to build a new belief system to have healthy, loving, amazing relationships that they've always dreamt of, and step out of the PTSD of the hurt child or the hurt young adult or the hurt adult, and really break that down and then tie the physiology in with the mindset. And we do that through our very own technique, which is called adventure therapy.
Yeah.
We are definitely going to get to the adventure therapy thing because I've never heard of it, but we'll get there. We'll get there. I think it's so interesting. We'll get there. I saw in your bio. So how did you guys, Nancy, I believe I saw that you started your first business, which was a wedding planning business at age 26. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I did. Yeah, it was an unplanned journey. I was an event planner for an event planning company that mainly did weddings. And I was in the middle of taking on my very own first project. I was leading it. And the company within a 6-month period had to close its doors. And my client was going to be just left, right?
Dear.
Yeah, left to the gills. So I decided to just stay with it pro bono, and you know what? I took what I made prior to that and then just finished it off because I was like, this poor bride is not going to, she's going to have to rally and find another company and get charged twice, whatever. So she was my kind of first finish. And I told my parents about it, and my dad said, maybe this is an avenue you want to explore yourself. And I was like, I don't know. I was very hesitant, but he was a business owner, so he had that mindset. Okay. He walked me through, this could really be an avenue for you. So there I went and pursued that for about 4 or 5 years and really enjoyed it, but it just wasn't what I was looking for to fill my purpose in life, but enjoyed it in the time.
Yeah. Got it. Well, how sweet of you to do that. I'm sure the bride was very grateful.
It was a good bond.
Yes. And the groom too, right?
Yeah. I was like, we got this. We can do this.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys me because this is my first one. Like, it's a very honest, vulnerable moment.
Well, sometimes those are the best connections though, I feel.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Scott, I did a little digging on you, and there's so much on you. So you were in the film business, and that obviously caught my attention. And then I noticed in the form that you filled out for the show that I'm just gonna let you tell the story. How did PTSD start for you? How did you get onto that? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. So my PTSD really goes back to when I was a child. I grew up in a rough household, in rough circumstances, and for some time that defined me. Right. I was the victim. I had abuses, not only in my home but outside my home. And for me, I didn't understand what PTSD was, right? I had an uncle who was in Vietnam who absolutely had PTSD, right? And I watched things that he went through. And as I got a little older, and out of my circumstances, out of my household, out of my neighborhood, I got some great mentors. And through those mentors, I really started to learn that how it was affecting my life. Mm-hmm. When I found that out and really started to see where it was holding me back, mm-hmm. I went back in my mind and thought of what I did after, let's say, the beating. What did I do right before it, right after it?
Right.
And finding that for me helped me to create the model that Nancy and I teach today, to be honest with you. Because at 8, 9, 6 years old, what I did before and what I did after really had an effect on the belief, how the PTSD set in, if you will. And my big thing was I would go into the woods, right? I would go sit by a lake. I would go sit on a hill. It was very centering, grounding for me. And I didn't understand any of that at that age. As I started to look into my PTSD from my childhood and wanting to really make that something else, I discovered growth, right? I discovered growth that if I stepped through it, if I stepped through what I knew, I would grow. So I knew that I was a victim. I knew that it was just life. It was just how it is. This is, right? These are just my circumstances.
Right.
When I was able to step through that, through what I knew, I could grow. And I found that I did that best out in nature. Mm-hmm. Now, the other side of that, like I said a minute ago, was the before the incident. Mm-hmm. And for that, I had to take responsibility. So as wrong as it was to catch the beatings that I caught, I had to take responsibility in my part. So my part might have been lying, right? I may have lied about something because I knew I'd get in trouble, but then I get caught lying anyway. So the end result was the end result, right?
Right.
But I had to take responsibility for my actions that led to whatever it was that I was feeling at that.
Okay.
So through that, I really found that my experience, I opened a rock climbing gym. I started taking people on guided tours. And I found through my experience and the way that it comes out of me when I'm speaking to people, that folks were coming back to me a day later, or a week later, or a month later. Hey, that conversation, it didn't only help me out there while we were climbing, but it helped me in my relationship with my kids. It helped me in my relationship with my wife. It helped me in my relationship with my parents. And I found this niche, if you will. And I worked with military, and I've worked with law enforcement and gang task force, and utilizing the same principles that Nancy and I teach today, which is adventure therapy. Mm-hmm. And what we do, how that developed, is really having that mindset change, but allowing the physiology, the physical body, which holds all of our traumas, all of our experiences, good or bad, and being able to tie those two growth things together. So it's easy to change someone's mindset, right? We can read self-help books. We can get a coach. There's lots of ways that we can work on the mindset, the story of the PTSD.
Right.
If we don't tie the physiology in, our physical body will continue to act out PTSD.
Right.
And so I turned mine truly into PTSD, right?
And what is that? Tell everyone what that stands for.
Growth. It's post-traumatic growth. And there's no syndrome to it. There's no disorder to it.
Yeah.
It's just about growth. And anybody can do it. We've helped hundreds, if not thousands of people in different sectors. And today we really work with women who encapsulate that, have that PTSD within their relationships, their failed relationships within their
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
awesome.
I think the fun part, when now we call it fun, but that to experience putting this into effect again for ourselves with, he was in an explosion about 2 years ago at work, and an early explosion. He does special effects in the film industry. And that brought our practice for ourselves right back around full circle to really dive in and learn about that again for ourselves, you know?
And that's a great point. It, you know, right after the explosion, I've been rehabbing for 2 years. Right, I was told I would never walk a straight line again. I was told I would never rock climb. I would never scuba dive. I would never. Right, it was the nevers. You will never. You will never be happy that you're alive. You will never. Lost hearing, lost balance. Have vertigo now. I could have easily gotten stuck in the idea of poor me, victim again. You know, instead, it really happened for me. And that brings me back to my childhood. I got to have those experiences, not only to help the thousands of people that we help, but to help myself in one of the most trying times that I've truly had in my life. And to have a partner to support me through that with the knowledge she has, really kept us moving forward in, again, the growth. And the conscious growth through that experience. And all that goes into the dynamic of, now my wife is my caretaker. How that can disrupt this relationship or any relationship if we allow it to become, you know, mother-son dynamic, if you will, in that caretaking.
People who follow are people who support those who have PTSD or anxiety or depression. And so I'm glad you spoke on how that changed your dynamic and how, Nancy, you became his caretaker. Both of you, but especially I think Nancy, what would you say, how would you best help someone who's dealing with that kind of deep trauma, whether it be emotional, physical, usually they're both? How did you do it? What would you say?
I think for me, my concern at the time was making sure to hold him accountable in the nicest of ways, right? Not letting him fall to the victim side of, I can't, you know, doctors tell me I can't, I shouldn't right now. Within a very, very guided way of making sure we're doing it comfortably, we're doing it safe, you know, living to that, pushing yourself to those limits every day of what you can do, right? And just going a little bit further and really encouraging that, especially in my opinion, for a man, for a guy, how they hold themselves and what they hold themselves to, encouraging them to rise up to that because they want to, and not falling into, I guess, sadness for myself that this is where our relationship is. It's just a moment, you know. And if you stay in the part of pulling each other up, then you will get to the other side. If you stay in the sadness and the woe of why did this happen to us, why are we going through this, you stay in that place that much longer. But really pushing him in the kindest of way, but pushing him to his limits of you can still be the man of the house, you can still do these things, you can still rise to the challenges, and making sure that they have the time to have their pity party when they need to have it for an hour, 2 hours a day, whatever that might be, but not letting them stay there, you know. And that was a fine balance, but really important to make sure you keep rising them up.
Absolutely. I love how you added that you gave him time. I mean, I think sometimes a lot of, self-help gurus are all about the thinking positive and the don't stay in there. And absolutely, you do not want to stay in those moments of grief or despair. But I think we need to allow ourselves to feel those feelings, like you said, so you can go through them, work through them, so then you can move forward to the other side and continue that growth. That I love that you put that in your slogan, in your PTG. I love that. But I also love that there is that moment, and you do need to be able to have that moment to feel those feelings. You just don't stay there.
Yeah.
And such a great point, right? We're taught, especially as men, not to feel. Push it down, put it in a box, bury it, right? All of these things that we are told how a man is supposed to be.
Right.
And so we get into a place where my entire identity was taken, right? I am a top special effects person in the film industry, right? I've worked on Oscar award-winning films. My whole identity was that job, truly. Right. The guilt that came along with it of I was not in war.
Right.
Why should I be feeling what I'm feeling? Overcoming all of those limiting beliefs that will creep up and creep up and creep up, and sometimes not creep up, right? Sometimes power in
a vengeance,
right? And to have a partner that disappears,
when I drink water.
to have a partner who supported me unconditionally, who reminded me of how much more I am. Truly got me to the place that I do walk a straight line. We went canyoneering last week. Did I have some challenges? Sure. But it's the first time I got to do it in 2 years, 2.5.
Oh, bless your heart.
Huge. Right?
Huge.
The growth that I talk about is everybody that's involved. There's PTSD for her in the experience.
Absolutely.
So to grow together, to understand where each of us were located, and like Nancy said, to bring that vibration up and not get stuck in they said I'm never gonna, so I'm never going, right? To be able to utilize the skills and tools that Nancy and I have just made us a stronger couple. It just made us want to grow through what we know, right? We knew I wasn't going to walk a straight line again. Doctor said it, MRI said it, the science said it.
Right.
Everybody knew that. We didn't choose to believe the idea of impossible. Everything is possible. It just depends on how you go about it. So when we change our focus, we change the outcome. We change the life that we're living. And so not to being focused on poor me, poor us, I'm not the same man I was, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not going to ever, I can't, is so far out of my mindset that there was no doubt that I would get as far as godly, universally possible, right? I don't want to say humanly possible because we're way more than that.
Right. And the humans were telling you it wasn't.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Right?
always a way. And I think the main thing that I've always followed and learned is if we only follow what's put in front of us, that's as far as we get. If you allow yourself to believe there's always a way, you just got to find it. You got to figure it out, research, look for things. And you follow the unique ways, the not so common ways, they usually lead you to the solution, which is why we love what we do of the adventure therapy. It's unique, it's different, but it takes you down that road. And that's all we've ever done with all the challenges we've been put through in life, which go way, we could have a whole nother show about those. But always coming to the other side of it is possible. You can get what you're looking for.
And that's really what two things that I learned that we bring into this coaching business, or I bring into this coaching business, that I took away from the movie industry. Was one, I became a human behavior expert. Right? It's what I do. It's how I read. It's so much involved in the movie making process.
Right.
And the second thing that I truly learned from the film industry is what Nancy just said. Everything is possible. I've never told a director no, and I've never told a director or producer that I can't do something. I may have to learn something new, a new skill, more knowledge.
Right.
There may be something that has to be learned from someone who's done it already, which is what's great about having a network. And that goes for everything. Before I could really get out of my stuff, I had to learn from mentors and coaches who have done it, who have walked the walk and truly came out the other side. And we can learn so much from each other in that respect that we're unstoppable.
I love that. But I love your parallel is like awesome. So you're in the field of movies. You didn't go for help with someone who didn't have a clue. You wouldn't have come to me for help on that. Let's just be real. I would not be who you would go to for that issue. So you went to someone who's already done it, or at least has done very similar to kind of help you create how to do that. That's how I feel about people working with relationships, PTSD. I went to some professionals that were very less than helpful, did more harm than good. And I truly believe they probably meant well, but they just didn't understand. They didn't get it. They hadn't been through a PTSD themselves or trauma, I'm sure they had, but it was different. And that's why they couldn't meet me there. But it was when I went to someone who had been there and understood what I was feeling to the point where then I felt validated and heard and understood. That is when you can start to heal. It's when we're at the stage of, you talked about it earlier. It was like, what is going on? Like, I haven't been in war. Why am I experiencing this? And you start to think, maybe I am crazy. Maybe I, am a wimp. Maybe I don't know how to handle, this is normal. Everyone is telling me this is normal. So why can't I deal with it? And it's when you talk to someone who gets all that I feel like then you can actually make things happen. So I love your parallel there.
Yeah. And it's not about suck it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's really about communicating and being vulnerable. Those are, for me, the two biggest pieces to the growing aspect that we talk about. Communication and vulnerability. Vulnerability to step through what you know. It takes a lot. It takes a lot for women and for men. We coach together and have the masculine and the feminine in both.
Love it.
And the masculine of either gender, if you will, is still going to put up that resistance to the vulnerability to I need help.
Right.
That's the biggest step is, hey, I need help. It's one of the things in Alcoholics Anonymous is calling somebody, right? If you're in a place where you think you're going to drink, you're going to do drugs, you're going to do whatever it is that you're addiction is, that picking up that phone is the most important tool in your toolbox. And that goes for PTS growth as well. It's picking up that phone. It's asking for help. So many of us try to go it alone, whether it's in our relationships, building our relationships, our patterns, our habits, going through.
Can you feel that? Can you feel the power?
I get a little passionate.
I feel it. I love it. No, I love it. That's why I wanted to bring attention to it. Everybody just watch that power. You can just feel it coming through the screen. I truly do. That's beautiful. So I want to kind of, since we've kind of weaved in and out of it, I want to talk about your adventure therapy. And I know you like to work with women and the relationships. And so I had a boss who loved me to death and meant well. But one time he looked at me and he said, "Tracy, your picker is broke." But that made me, so I downloaded, I went to your site and I downloaded that book that went through all the different types. You see a few different ones, but that there was one, I have not figured out my one major one because I checked off every one on the list. I'm like, wow, my picker really was broken. Tell me, because I can't believe I'm the only one. I know lots of other women who are going, you help us find that person and help you get over, your type. Talk to me about how you guys do that and how you do it together, because I think that is probably huge key in your success. And then how your adventure therapy goes in with that. Just tell us. We're all just begging you to tell us.
Well, I love how your boss said your picker is broken, right? What we like to call it is flipping your magnet. So a lot of times our magnet is just upside down and we're attracting in every single thing we don't want, right?
Okay.
What we do is when we say we help you find what you've always been looking for, find the love in your life. We're not a matchmaking company, first of all.
Right.
Clear that up for everybody. We're helping you find within.
Oh, wasn't that so good? So good. So good, in fact, I had to break it into 2 separate episodes. So next time on Multiform and PTSD, they're going to answer all the questions. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.